Kemmunion, everybody. Do all for joining us today for Communion. Um, we're happy to see y'all. Do another. Kemmunion boots a shot. Um, that was one of the tracks from the Sabidi's new album.
That's right.
A New Renaissance, Volume 1, Sound Current, is now available. It's on the Temple of a New website, templeofanew.org. You can purchase it as a digital download. And I know you have more music coming, but this album, more music coming today. But this album is so tight. It's so good. And so thank you to those of you who've already supported Nasit's work. This work that he's done is for us, it's for the culture. So for those of you who are enjoying the new series of culturally comedic and spiritually sound vibes, please get your copy, download it today. And again, do offer y'all continued support. And make sure if y'all are using any of the new music, a new radiance, a new ambiance, or a new renaissance, if you're using that music when you're teaching meditation classes or yoga classes, if you're making reels or videos or anything like that, feel free to tag the temple on Facebook or IG so that we can see how the music is being used in your spiritual work, in your personal work, or in your community work, especially those of you who are light healers and light workers and who are using that music and incorporating that music. Like now, instead of going to like the Indian inspired vibes or the Asian inspired vibes or the Native American vibes, we got the comedic vibes for you to use in those spaces. So please tag the temple so we can see, how the music is being enjoyed and appreciated, and we look forward to witnessing that with y'all real soon. So before I go any further, I'm gonna pause for a moment, um, so we can open up with our prayer. I saw it, but I want to pray first. Um, so please ask everyone to join me in saying, "Amatu Panatir, Sauek Tuament Panatir, Audu Auma, Kezi Paharu." The translation: Give yourself to Netta daily, keep yourself for Netta daily, and do it tomorrow as you do it today. We give homage to the Creator, who is like our Father and who is like our Mother, who is everything that we can perceive and everything that we cannot perceive, who is everything and yet is no one thing, who comes to us in the form of the Neteru Ra, who is the light of the heavens, the light of the inner planes, as well as the light of our lives, who shines the light for us on the path of Ma'ati, which is the path of truth, justice, righteousness, and harmonious balance, who comes to us in the form of the light of vitality, giving us the strength and the endurance to live and act upon that which we know to be true. Homage to you, the one who shines in and through us as a beacon of light for those who are blind to the facts of their place, their position, and their responsibility in the divine scheme of things. May we be Ma'akaru, true of thought, word, and deed to our highest reality. And in the moments of crises, in the dark nights of the soul, when it appears that everyone and everything else has let us down, so it is and so shall it be. Join me in saying, Amen Ma'at.
Amen Ma'at.
Ma'akaru.
Ma'akaru.
Duaneter. Abu Sashad on YouTube asked if we could drop the link for a new radiance into the live chat. Dua in advance to Wefet Ma'akara, because I know you're going to take care of that. Wefet Ma'akara is, as always, manning the chat on both sides, both on our YouTube and on Facebook. She be holding it down for us. So even though she's not in the room today, I know she's holding it down where she is. Dua Wefet Ma'akara, but she's in the chat room, exactly. Last time we was on the live, we had like 100 people in here. And today it's just Nasa and I in the room. But we're grateful that y'all are joining us in the chat room, like Nasa said. So, but where are y'all joining us from? That's what we want to know. I'm sure I saw Lincoln, Nebraska in the chat. Because Jason never missed a chance to tell us that he with us in the building.
New box.
Yes, give thanks. Let me see. We got on I-10 in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. If you're driving, listen safely. Still keep your eyes on the road. Do unnecessary. I don't think this comment is a what we're looking for.
Yeah. Go to church.
Long Island is in the building.
That's right.
Yes. So unnecessary. London, United Kingdom is in the building. Reading, Pennsylvania is still in the building. That's what's up, Tara. The Shamsu Haru in Chicago. Connecticut's in the house. Dua Nutter. I love today. We're having an international day today. Dua Nutter. Yes. Anybody else overseas on the line? We have some comments this week from followers in Brazil. So I was just curious to see if they're also on the line. But we're also happy that the people who are right around the corner are on the line. Shout
That's
out to
right.
Orange, New
That's
Jersey,
right. That's right.
as well. Philly, Delaware, and New Jersey in the building. Give thanks. Give thanks. I'll give my eye. Yes, yes. St. Louis, Missouri is in the building. Boston is in the building. Duanetta. Rock Hill, South Carolina. Newark, New Jersey is in the house. I
Okay.
love it. I love it. I love it. Duanetta. I'm so glad that y'all are here with us today. Duanetta, Duanetta. I hope y'all was enjoying the photos that we posted
That's
from
right.
Wet from
It's
Pet.
powerful
It
stuff.
was an amazing, amazing experience. It was so beautiful. It was just like perfect weather, just perfect. Everything just came together
Mm-hmm.
exactly as it's meant to, as it always does. Duanetta for that. So we're grateful to those of you who came out and celebrated with us. Shout out Vernon, New Jersey. We're grateful to those of you who showed your support in that way. And we hope that those photos give you a glimpse into how we worship and how we celebrate and how we uplift our ancestors as well as the Neteru of our ancestors, the work that we do to keep ourselves and our spirits aligned in Ma'at, so that that inspires y'all to come out and
That's
worship with
right.
us. In the future, there will be plenty of occasions to do that. Two announcements before. Oh no, wait, just one announcement because I already shouted out a new Renaissance. Although I guess I'll do it again. Shout out a new Renaissance. Pick
And
up the download.
and later on today, we dropping another hip hop track called The Outskirts. That's me and my brother, Lord and Master. So look for
Yes,
that about 3 o'clock today.
yes, and that's gonna be on Bandcamp.
Bandcamp.
So Nasit's hip hop projects are on Bandcamp, and then a new Renaissance is on the Temple of a New website. Again, templeofanew.org. We'll get those links in the chat for you guys. Um, but lastly, I want to just make sure y'all know that unfortunately we will not be here next Communion Sunday, which is Sunday, August 20th. We are taking that day off to have an in-person event that is for community only, so by invite only. Invites are gonna start going out over the next couple of days. So those of you who are like, I didn't get an invite, invites ain't go out yet. Please be patient. It'll be kind of low key, just little family thing. It's not a holiday or what have you. It's just an opportunity for us to continue to bond and to continue to enjoy this beautiful summer weather. In order for us to do that, we can't be online. So we're gonna miss you guys on the 20th. We will not be doing our Facebook or YouTube live on the 20th, but we will be back here on September 6th for our next communion. So again, please keep in mind, missing August 20th, we won't be here, and then we'll be back for communion on Sunday, September 3rd. Okay? I think that's it. Yeah.
What was that paragraph that came up over there?
We are in a villain era because there is so much thievery of our culture from others. They are always saying and showing everything. Oops, sorry. Is we do is wrong and everything they do is right.
Okay.
I guess you want to
You
take it
know,
away
you
from
know,
there.
you All right, so let us continue this conversation about, are we in the villain era? Is the Temple of Anu in the villain era, or are you as an individual in the villain era? So that was a good point that the brothers made. Every time we get on the platform, we have this delicate alchemy that we have to do between the charge of the individual as well as in contrast to the charge of the community. There's always multi-layered approaches that have to be done, and we can only hope and pray to the Neteru and our ancestors that the way be open, that we could impact people in a powerful, profound, and positive way possible. So let us get into it. So are you in the villain era? What is a villain era? I like to say that this is inspired by a post that him had made, and something of the flow of it went like, I'm okay being the villain in your story as long as I'm the hero in mine. Pretty much the same, as long as I'm not the victim in my story. So I thought about it as different layers of that. That's a very empowering perspective to take, and we have to ask ourselves individually as well as look at ourselves as a community, and why are some people just okay and so comfortable being the victim? And why is it that heroes receive so much shade or even straight up ignored? How is it that one could be a victim in someone else's story? Then I have to ask myself, is there such thing as a righteous villain? And probably not, because the etymology of the word villain comes from vile, and vile means something detestable and horrible or disgusting. And it's interesting, righteousness pretty much means respect of the divine. So how could respect of the divine ever be detestable? And once again, we have our daily examples, even based off of our experience within the last month. Some people like to attack other people for their righteous demonstration. Now, it forces the conversation to go to another level because it's never as basic as we think it is. The conversation, it forces the conversation to be more provocative in the sense that what is it that makes one interpret another person as a villain from their perspective? So let us cycle back around to a saying that we had a couple months ago. We did a whole communion on it, and I remember that the quote got some pretty good feedback. Remember, it goes, listen to your heart, follow your spirit, and do what is pleasing to your ka. So it goes, listen to your ab, follow your ba, and do what is pleasing to your ka. So the ka is the energy body. So it's do what energizes you, do what revitalizes you, do what makes you happy, follow your bliss. Now we live in an era of people, there's tricksters and there's a lot of gray area nowadays. People don't like to talk about what's right or what's wrong. So we have to clarify the caveat in there. So do what is pleasing to your ka. So we have to say, do that which is wholesomely and healthily pleasing to your ka. Do that which is wholesome and healthily revitalizing to you. Repeat, do that which is healthily and wholefully revitalizing to you. Because in contrast, we have a lot of people that do drugs. Drugs appear to be resurfacing and everybody's justifying their indulgence in it and almost making it seem like drugs and stuff is like synonymous with being conscious. It's almost like some conscious folks' favorite pastime is getting high. And we have to be careful with that because back in the 70s, people did heroin and they thought that's what made them happy. They were following their bliss. And we seen that destroy certain individuals, their families, and we saw it negatively impact our community. In the 80s, some people did crack following their bliss and doing what it is that they made that made them feel happy. And we saw that destroy individuals, family, and negatively impact our community. In the 90s, we had, lean, ecstasy. Then coming into the current era, we have the opioid crisis and things like that. So all these people think they're doing something that makes them feel good or happy, but it's destroying them as individuals and it's negatively impacting families as well as the community. So what is it that we mean when we talk about healthy? When we say healthy, we're talking about something that that doesn't have deleterious effects after you indulge in it. Something that doesn't have any deleterious effects after indulging in it, meaning there's no loss of your capacities, your everyday capacities, and there's no moral loss. Some people could say, well, working out makes me weak, so should I not doing that? Nah. So working out is different. Working out, you can't really be addicted to working out. It's kind of like an oxymoron because the word addiction kind of implies some type of pathology or some type of disease. It's usually connected to disease. So yes, you may experience weakness in working out, but the proper perspective of that is when you experience that pain, that is a sign of weakness leaving the body. And within a matter of a week, you're starting to become stronger in between your workout sessions, and you show up better at your workout sessions. Therefore, your personal frequency just becomes overall better, brighter, and healthier because of the exercise. So that's called being an adult. That's called someone being serious about being a divine being in the flesh while being on the earth. So how do we fall into a villain error personally? And it happens very subtly. One thing is self or consulting your own heart, meaning you have knowledge of self and you like to believe that you have your own healthy perspective of what you think is right and wrong. And sometimes that bothers people when you're an independent thinker or a critical thinker about your own life or situations that you're into. And sometimes you could come up with different conclusions than others. And people tend to, some people tend not to like it or leverage their affection in their relationship against you if they disagree with the conclusions that you made up. So consulting your heart is one way that sometimes could subtly lead you in the direction of becoming the villain in someone else's story. Two, consult your tepred. For those who know about wet rim pet, this is why we tell you to show up in person to wet rim pet. There's something called the tepred. It means a spiritual charge that you get from the neteru. And big up to the priest of the Temple of Anu that does the tepred or the tepredu for the function. So they consult with the divinities, and the divinities and the ancestors give them a message for us as a community. There's 5 neteru over the year, according to the Wetman Pet. Now, everybody, it could be 100 of us there. Every one of these persons is going to pick one of these tepred, or one of the neteru is going to pick you. So there are groups of people that's going to have Asar, groups of people that's going to have Heru, or groups of people that's going to have Sates, groups of people that's going to have Orset, and groups of people that's going to have Neverhet. So that becomes your spiritual tribe of the year. That becomes your spiritual clan of the year. So when we say consult your tepred, so it's like, okay, I have my concept of what is right and wrong. Then I check what is the divine have of me, what is it requiring of me this year? Am I in alignment with this? Now I have a tribe of people who I could chop it up that has a very similar charge to me. So I can run it by the divine, and I can run it by my divine brothers and sisters. That's 2. Then 3 is after you've done consultation with yourself, with the divine, with your tribe, your brothers and sisters for the year, then you proceed accordingly, being unconcerned with others' perception on how you fulfill your purpose. That right there was very subtle. So if people are not in your tribe or in your circle, because life consists of concentric circles, so the further people get from your center, the more judgmental they tend to be, and the more they tend to be more vocal about what they approve or what they disapprove about what you're doing. So what did I just say? The caveat is there. So when you know who you are, and you know what is your charge or your purpose for the year, and you know who you could consult and trust in and run things by, it doesn't matter what anybody thinks about what you do and how you attempt to be the best version of yourself for the year. I hope y'all understand that. So we live in a time now where people think they have the authority or want to be in a position to tell you what they approve of or disapprove of in your life. For instance, this thing that happened last month with those other folks. And I'm going to stay bringing that up because they did us a favor. So they did us a favor by being a lesson for perpetuity on how we should never be like. So we're not taking it personal in that sense, but it's an example that we could take personally. So the way they showed disapproval was through trying to ridicule us. For some reason, our community has a big issue with people wearing white clothes or wearing nice clothes or have fly jewelry, and we stand on that. This is some of the best jewelry that exists on the planet in 3,000 years, courtesy of our elder Baba Heru, the elder teacher, leader of the shrine of Ptah. So it doesn't matter what they say. Mind you, us wearing white or us wearing colorful clothes or following our cultural protocol does not do anyone else harm in the community. But for some reason, people think to show their approval through ridicule is okay. Mind you, that's very European. Mind you, like if we said anything about their elders or any tradition in Africa or any other ethnicity or culture outside of ourselves, if we started talking about people look silly in their little cultural clothes and their silly little hats and the thing doesn't make any sense, then you'll see everybody get up, especially if they're adherents of a particular system. Everybody be doing 2-hour PowerPoint presentations and telling us how ignorant we are and how disrespectful we are. So what is it? The lesson in that is it's interesting how people could defend the ancients but disrespect the currents for standing on the same principle as the ancients. So clearly disrespect is the order of the day. There's a man from Brazil, Yuri, my brother. So there's clearly people feel like they can show their disapproval through leading with disrespect. Said no one ever went to no village in Africa and said, give me everything that is sacred. Let me see your sacred secrets and everything, and let me peruse through it so I can determine if I'm going to conduct myself respectfully amongst you all. That sounds crazy when I put it that way, but that's how people are conducting themselves now in society. They're just like, okay, show me what you got so I can tell you how I disagree with you on every point. Furthermore, in African culture, you lead with respect. Nobody has to earn your respect. You lead with respect, meaning until somebody does something so distasteful and or off order where it requires for you to match that energy as a chin check to that person, you're supposed to give that person respect, that person or that people respect. Even in African culture, across the board, you're required to be respectful even if you disagree. They solid in the chat. Once again, you're required to be respectful even if you disagree. So as we have this conversation, we see that there's a disconnect from Westerners over here that thinks they're embracing African spirituality and then how they actually did it from ancient times. There's a disconnect, then there has to be some type of resolution. You constantly hear me talk about this thing called split energy or contradictory energy or contrast. So in culture, you're still required to be respectful even if you disagree. And some people act like they don't know what that is. For instance, if you go to Ghana today, they have what you call a Asante Henna, which is a paramount king. He's the king of kings. So that Asante Henna is able to make people kings. When you hear about African Americans going over and being installed as chiefs and kings, they're pretty much getting permission by the Asante Henna to be a king or a local chief in the area. So technically, the Asante Henna is emperor. Emperors make kings. Kings are not over emperors. Emperors make kings. That's how serious it is. So when you're interacting with Ghanaian people, you're interacting with people that does everything according to their history, their folklore, and their mythology at the same. Their history, their folklore, their mythology, and their theology. You have no say-so whether you get to participate in that or not. You may disagree, but I haven't heard to this day nobody going over there and disrespecting those people. So, for instance, you can't talk to the Asante Henny directly. He has something called the linguist. A linguist is a translator or interpreter. So the Asante Henny talks to his linguist. The linguist talks to you. You talk to the linguist. The linguist talks to the chief. Now over here in the West, people are saying, "Oh, he put his pants on one leg at a time. Why we got to go through all this? This is nonsense, man." Said no person ever. So if you want to have any type of interaction, you're gonna follow the protocol, and they'll ask you, "You done throwing your tantrum?" And after you throw your tantrum, when you see the Asante Henny, you bow and go boom, boom, boom. And when he goes over here and you do this, you're gonna have to get on your knees and you're gonna do it all. Because African people do everything, even down to the dress that some people think is silly. Everything is connected to the history, the culture, the mythology, the theology, the metaphysics, and esoterics of a certain situation. The ancestor Ptah Hotep says, "Be not arrogant when it comes to your knowledge. Seek counsel with the wise, the ignorant as well as the wise. That's interesting. Seek counsel, seek advice from ignorant people and not just the wise, because it says, for the limits of knowledge has not been set in any field, and no one has ever reached them. Wisdom is rarer than emeralds, meaning there's knowledge all over the place. We live in this era. It's almost like they knew all this. Knowledge was always readily available, but like emeralds, wisdom is rare. So information all over the place, but the real thing that you need or want might not come from where it is that you think it's at, or who it is you think has that thing. Said wisdom is rarer than emeralds, and yet it's found amongst the women who gather at the grindstones. What does that mean? There's some people have high stations in life, and certain people have low stations in life. You have doctors, lawyers, and PhDs. And in certain circles, some people don't give a damn about none of that. You have priests. The priests in the spiritual community, the priests and the metaphysicians is equivalent to the doctors, lawyers, and stuff. And so in both of those circles, neither one of each other's credentials add up to much. And then you have regular folks sometimes that don't have any of those accomplishments, higher accomplishments, and yet they have more wisdom than all the people that seems to be so well versed and read in all of those things. And they could blow your mind, be like, how does this person have all this wisdom and they haven't read all the books I read to come to these conclusions? This person, for some reason, just knows for some reason at all. So even amongst people, our people have wisdom encoded in tradition, wisdom encoded in folklore, wisdom encoded in family things. Especially amongst Southern black folks, we have what you call voodoo and hoodoo, which is different than Vodun of Haiti and the Vodun in Benin. You have a Southern version of that. From the outward perspective, we be like, yo, what is this crazy stuff they talking about? We get what, a cat's what? Such and such, such and such. But you speak to the elders, they'll break it down. You speak to the elders, and if you're honest with yourself, if you really come from the South and you spent any real time down there, you remember they were giving you some nasty concoctions or whatever that knocked the flu out, or that knocked whatever disease out, or somebody, they did some type of ritual to hit the lottery, the numbers or whatever. So there's certain things that people you think are ignorant and they have more access. Sometimes those people are more tapped in than the people that you think are tapped in. So the villain era, what is it for us? It means that we're no longer entertaining or negotiating any conversation about who we are or what it is that we do. I repeat, for us, the villain era means we're not negotiating or entertaining any conversation about who we are or what it is that we do. And contrary to popular opinion, we don't have to answer that question about what is it that you're doing that's beneficial to black people. You know, everybody always, how's that helping black people? Now, y'all heard that saying about in business, you have to pay yourself first, right? You heard about that. So in business, it means you have to pay yourself first. You will always be in business if you're in the service business. If you got something that somebody needs to help them do something better or more efficient, you will always be in business. But the motto is you have to pay yourself. So you can't just live just for other people. So you have to pay yourself, not so you could go on vacation or just be flexing on cats, but to invest in your business model, to improve your business model so you can serve the community better. Same with this. So what is it that we're doing that's benefiting the community? We're liberating ourselves first. I'm getting my act together so I can show up better for the community. So now understand, esoterically, metaphorically, metaphysically, when you hear someone say self is always interchangeable with the divine, or what some people call God. There's a saying, when you discover self, you encounter the divine. When you discover self, you encounter the divine, or you encounter God. You're supposed to understand that when you hear that word self, when you're talking to an initiate or somebody that practices any of these indigenous traditions, divinity works through us. So your job is to get right with self, which is divine. Get right with the divinity that exists within. Because remember, things are concentric circles. So you have to get right with self, and that's going to go until perpetuity. You're never really going to have it all together, but it's something that you have to be mindful of throughout the whole journey. Then after that, you get right with your personal family unit. So you can't even put your mate or your children above yourself. You have to authentically address yourself in order to authentically show up for your mate as well as your family. And is how things work out. Sometimes you might have to separate temporarily from mate or family until you get your center or till they get their center, and you might come back at a better time where most people are, when hopefully you're more mature and more whole, and you show up as a healthier, more healed, a more well-rounded version of yourself. Then after that, you consider your tribe, which is pretty much a collection of initiated families. So you have yourself, you have your family unit, and then you have your initiated families. That's your tribe. And then your nation comes after that. So when somebody asks you, what y'all doing? How is it benefiting black people? They're skipping levels. So they're telling you to go skip self and just jump to nation. You can't help nation until you got right with self. You can't help your tribe till you get right with self. You can't help your mate or your family till you get right with self. And somehow you got to find a way to kind of do it all simultaneously. So no, we don't have to do more than what it is that we deem fit at any given time. And that makes people feel some sort of way. They be like, oh, then they start judging you because they can't control you, because they can't influence you, they can't direct you to what they want you to do. So it's all about Murden Jesseph. And Murden Jesseph means love of himself and love of herself. Now, if you're a Kemetic initiate or if you're a student of the Medoneta, the Sesh Medoneta, you would know the definition of the word Mer. I'm going to take a breather and ask y'all in the chat, can somebody give a basic one-word definition of Mer? Mm-hmm. Whoa. Tearing up here. Oh, man. Did not expect that.
Okay.
Knocked off line.
Apologies. Literally never had that happen before.
My foot fell asleep. I kicked it. Karen.
Okay. Let me see if I can get this together here. Keep talking. YouTube, let me know if y'all can hear. I see comments that say Mer is love, compassion, love, work, love, definition of Mer, love, work, compassion.
We lost image on there.
I think we lost image, but we did not lose sound. So let me, I don't know how to fix this. You know what I'm gonna suggest is for folks to migrate over to Facebook from YouTube. Can someone drop the Facebook link into the YouTube chat so they can move over? Because I don't know if I can fix this in live time, but you can keep going in the while that because yes. They can hear you but not see you, so you can keep talking. And in the meantime, folks, please move over to Facebook, because I'll probably in a little bit turn this off so I can try to triage the situation. But for now, wait, I don't know. Hold on. I think it's this. I think it's the knob. I'm thinking it's like a technical thing.
I was scared. That's my iPad. It's too expensive to break.
It's not a technical thing. It's a keep talking.
No, we good.
We good? Okay, wait.
Like, just love, word. Okay. All right, so y'all keep listening there over there. That's YouTube.
Yes.
Okay, we're getting it together. So we ready. So mer means love. All right, so I meant to ask, what is the glyph for love? What is the Maduk for love? Are they stumped on that one? What is the glyph for love?
Plow.
Okay, plow.
Not stump, but remember there's a delay.
All right, so the plow represents to cultivate or to dig. So we talked about love of self. I call it a plow. Okay, yeah. So we talked about love of himself or love of herself. So the image is the plow. Plow means to cultivate, to dig deeper into self. Now watch it. So now here's where we get grown with the conversation, and it's gonna rub some people the wrong way. It's gonna, yeah, it could be a hard conversation to people, but it's 2023. We have to move onward, upward, and onward. So if it means to dig or to cultivate or dig deeper into self, meaning love. So love is not really just knowledge of self, not just love of self, but it's knowledge of self. So to love oneself, to really love oneself, you become less bothered by other people's opinions and expectations of you.
Mm-hmm.
This is where it gets difficult. When you really know and love yourself, you become less concerned with other people's opinions and expectations of you, because your opinion of yourself is not always the same as other people's opinion of yourself. So if you really know and love yourself and not believe that you're a good person, but know that you're a good person, and as a good person you do good things, that means you fairly distribute your time,
Mm-hmm.
your energy,
Mm-hmm.
your money, and your resources
Mm-hmm.
in ways that you see best fit, and not in ways that cause disequilibrium within yourself or your life.
Right.
That was a mouthful. You think I need to say that again?
Yes.
So when you really know yourself, and when you really love yourself, and you know that you're a good person, and as a good person you do good things, you fairly distribute your time, your energy, your money, and your resources in ways you see best fit, and not in ways that cause you internal disequilibrium or cause disequilibrium in your life. That's a tough one for a lot of people. It doesn't mean you don't care about other people. It means you prioritize self first. So being self-aware, because that's all that was. That's about being self-aware. So you have to be able to assess your energy level, everything that you got on your plate, and everything that you have to accomplish in your life, everything you have to accomplish in a year, all of your relationships, you got to decide how to do that and how to measure out your energy. So being self-aware, what you do, when you do, how you do, and why you do is just what it is. And you don't owe anyone no more or less. So welcome to the villain era. People don't like that. And once again, it doesn't mean you don't care about others. It means that you cannot be shamed or guilted into doing anything more than you see fit, because your job is not to cause yourself to be going to any type of internal disequilibrium, meaning you love yourself so much that you're not going to go into disequilibrium just because somebody else haven't figured out how to love themselves and are dependent on outward expressions coming from other people before they could start to believe that they have any value of themselves.
Mm-hmm.
That's a mouthful right there. So what happens in our community, we have a lot of pocket watching going on. So some people be like, well, he or she makes a lot of money, they should be giving more. Or they start deciding you could give more because the hard-earned money you made and the decisions you made in life should be distributed more to them or to other less fortunate people in the society. Then people start energetic pocket watching, meaning that person's spiritual and they've been spiritual so long and they have this title and that title, they should be doing more. Well, I expect more of them because of that. That's energetic pocket watching. So now you can see how people could start becoming the villain in somebody else's story when they can't control how you distribute your time, your energy, your money, and your resources. So essentially what we're talking about is how to be a grown man and a grown woman. Because we were taught a lot of things that we have to now sift through as adults. So we're talking about grown men, grown women, adult things being comedic. So we were taught things in school. We were taught things by parents, some good, some bad, some good stuff and some bad things in school. We've been taught by the elders in our tradition. You've been taught, some of you have been taught by me, some of you have been taught by spirituality. You have a lot of information that you've been exposed to that you have to sift through, and you have to determine how you want to live and act upon that. That's called spirituality that everybody keeps talking about. I don't need nobody telling me what to do. I got all the answers within. So you have to review your whole life and everything that you've been exposed to, and you have to decide how are you going to stand on it. And that's for you, each one of us as an adult, to figure out. You cannot be shamed and insulted into doing more than you feel that you're capable of at that time. So this is powerful. So if we all accept that as adults and we come into this legacy as adults, fully matured and balanced adults, then nothing any other circle or community could do could phase us, because a lot of time what people are projecting their insecurities onto you in the form of their expectation. And when you're a grown adult and you know who you are and you're self-aware and you really love yourself and you do everything with purpose, it's none of no one else's business what you do with your time, your energy, your money, or your resources. So if you move like that as an individual, and then we get together as a collection of individuals, which is our tribe, we can't be stopped. We don't owe anybody any answers. Nobody could shame us into doing more. So we have once again, like them other folks last month, and a lot of times from the scholastic community, and there's no disrespect for, I like the scholars, I use a lot of their information. I have no issue with other people from ATR or other traditions, but for some reason they all have our name in their mouth. Not just us as Temple of Anu, but people just always have this, whatever their views and opinions about those of us that practice the Kemetic thing. They be like, oh, the other ATR said y'all not authentic because y'all don't do such and such. And we'll have to say, well, in ancient Kemet, or in any other tradition, no one ever had to validate themselves by going through the back door of anybody else's tradition. Even in Kemet, they got their validation from the South, but in the South, there was a clear connection, a visual connection between the culture up north and the culture up south. Had many of the same deities, the architecture, the structure. There was no secret conversation that somebody had to break down how you're connected to that other. It was obvious. They got Amun in the south. There was Amun up north. They had Jehudi down here, Jehudi up there, Haru down here, Haru up there. Ra was everywhere. It wasn't a different culture. None of them had to go through no other culture to validate their particular practice. So we move on. We don't have to have that conversation. And a lot of them don't like that. Some people say, well, what you doing is y'all making it up, or y'all look silly and stupid out there in the park dancing around altars and stuff. And I would say that's very Eurasian of you, because that's what the Europeans thought before they did what it is that they did to us as a people. And then we would have to say, well, since you don't plan on joining or being a part of us, I'm going to save you some conversation. I'm going to save us both the time and discontinue this conversation. You see how that goes? You don't owe people any conversation. If they're not trying, so some conversation is only members only, and other people outside of the community are not all, they don't always like that. They feel like, I'm outside of the community, but you should give me what's sacred to you, and I should have access to it. And we say no. And a lot of people don't like no. A lot of people don't like boundaries. Most spiritual people go above and beyond with sharing. And for certain people, their needs and wants are like a black hole. A lot of, like, sometimes us as black folks in America, our needs and wants are like a black hole. There is no black agenda. We just be wanting stuff to no avail, wanting stuff and having no plan. So we bring that pathology a lot of times into our personal relationships, and people come into everything almost entitled. So I actually test and question people on this self-divinity thing. So if you're going to do the self-divinity thing, that you have to be in total responsibility for even your quality of life. Are you ready for that type of conversation? This is not a philosophical conversation. If as an issue, nothing happens to you, things happen through you. It's for you to see how to negotiate your relationship with reality better. That's it in a nutshell. And we don't waive our right to defend ourselves. So a lot of people think spiritual people are above defending themselves, and you could just attack our good name without any consequence. Heck no. You had the Nasut biddies in what you call the smiting pose. They had a position where the Nasut has the hair of an individual, and he has the white mace, and he smite his enemies. So it's not comedic to be letting certain nonsense slide. Certain things got to be dealt with. So it's not fun when spiritual people fight back. You're not in a good place if a spiritual person is upset with you, rightfully upset with you. I want to bring it to some conclusion. I was watching a hip hop podcast of a brother named Curtis King, and he was talking about specifically Ludacris and Busta Rhymes. He said Ludacris and Busta Rhymes is not. You like Ludacris? Do you like him back in the day?
Oh, yeah.
What about Busta?
I like Busta. Yeah.
So both of them are consummate lyricists, but they're not on anybody's top 10. No. Busta just got honored, I think, at one of the awards, Lifetime Achievement Awards, just got honored. Both of them are consummate lyricists, but for whatever reason, they're not on anybody's top 10. So a further investigation of people like that is Ludacris and Busta has a lot of personality. Mm-hmm. They have a lot of charisma. They're consummate performers too. So what it looks like is they're actually a more complete artist than some of your favorite artists. Mm-hmm. And that becomes a problem for certain people in the industry. So sometimes the industry, that happens to be your peers, they'll willfully ignore you because now they're intimidated by you. They be like, damn, this brother, he's a lyricist and he gets the crowd going, because some of your favorite acts are boring. Like, I like Rakim to death, but he doesn't have the best stage show. I like Wu-Tang, but they don't got the best stage show. Certain, like Busta's, even in his 50s, still amazing stage show. So why aren't they in that conversation of the best or the GOATs? So some people get intimidated to be like, well, they're so complete, or they appear to be so complete, they might outshine me in this one thing that I'm good at, that I'm trying to get some shine at. So they start willfully ignoring you. And a lot of time I feel like that's parallel to what happens to Temple of Anu. A lot of times we're not perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but what we do and when we decide to share what it is and who we are with people, we come off very organized, and that makes other people threatened, other people who are struggling for attention. Some scholars are struggling for attention. Some self-proclaimed scientists in our community are struggling for attention. Some self-proclaimed nationalists are struggling for attention in the community. And here we come with our stuff and we make it look easy. We look like we having fun. We smiling and stuff, and that be pissing people off. And then they start with their smear campaign because we're not leading with what they perceive the agenda is supposed to be. Oh, but it's not scientific. We hear that all the time. What text you got it from? We always try to tell people where our stuff comes from. And what's it doing for black folks? He's like, yo, we're black folks. Everything we do is for black folks. So everything you become, everything I've become is for our people. And at this point of the journey, I know who I am, and I know what I've done, and I've set people on their trajectory to figure things out. I've done a lifetime of work for our people, so I personally refuse to let somebody box me in as though I got to answer that question for them. And most of the time, the people that ask that question haven't done enough. So They're upset because we're not leading with their campaign. Our campaign is knowledge and love of self without needing validation of others and without having to identify ourselves with struggle. I repeat, our campaign is true knowledge of self, true love of self without needing the the validation of others and without having to identify ourselves with struggle. And remember, if you're struggling represents you're going against some type of order. So our job, our function is to find out what the order is and get in line, not nobody else's order. What is the divine order? And align ourselves with divine order, and then the ways begin to be open on how we to operate in any other type of order there is out there. So we're unbothered by the contrast. To be in your villain era, you got to be unbothered by the contrast. You have to be unbothered about being different and coming to different conclusions. So I want to close, because this is just part one. This is just opening the conversation. I want to close with Ptah. If y'all got the Ma'at book, it's on page 440. I know they keep updating it, so it might not be on 440 if you got the version that was released about 6 months ago. Ptah says, do not boast of your strength, for strength is relative. Mm-hmm. Mean, do not glorify your work, because your work is just that. It's your work. So do your work and move accordingly. Don't brag or talk down to others on their where they happen to be at on it. It doesn't say that in the text. I'm just giving my interpretation. Don't brag or talk about your high level or talk down about other people's level. You were once at that level. We see a lot of that on Facebook. You know, like it just bothers me just the disrespect I hear. And you know, everybody got a right to express themselves, but some people feel empowered when they talk down about other people's level of consciousness, and that people a lot of the people that they're talking down about are up from the level of consciousness they were 5 years ago. Like everybody's literally working it out. Mm-hmm. So do not boast of your strength, for your strength is relative. Circumstances change, and the first can become the last. It's called cycles of growth. Sometimes you're going to be up, and sometimes you're going to be down. Both are inevitable. I repeat, both are inevitable. Just because you're spiritual, just because you're initiate, just because you fast, pray, and all that, doesn't mean you ain't ever going to be down. It don't mean you're going to stay up. All things cycle. Circumstances change. The first can become the last. Quietly go about your growth. It's your business. For your path is steep, your goals are high, while the others settle for the valley. That means there's going to be a whole lot more average and regular people out there. And average and regular people are going to have to just make peace with being average and regular. Everybody can't flex. Everybody can't be fly. At least in this lifetime. Technically you can, but everybody just won't. So if you're going to be unique, remember it says your path is steep, your goals are high. So there's going to be some required effort for you to actually live and act upon what you know to be true. Especially if you're spiritual, you have a charge, a high charge every day, a high personal charge, a high charge every day for the rest of your year, for the rest of your life. Silence will be your shield. So there's a power in not saying anything. Everything doesn't need to be taken to Facebook and Instagram and all of that stuff. Your silence shall be your shield. For seeds grow best in the dark. Trees grow best in the light. But remember, a tree is already grown. Let's take that back. For seeds grow best in the dark and trees grow best in the light. It's saying it without saying it. It's telling you to embrace your shadow work. A lot of people don't know what constituents go into making you on who you are to become. So you're going to have to embrace your shadow work. So some of the most significant work you're going to do is when you're down, not when you're up. It said trees grow best in the light, but it says, but remember, a tree is already grown. But remember, a tree used to be a seed too. So stop comparing yourself to people that's further ahead of the journey than you. That tree was once a seed too. So that person or those people in these other circumstances had to go through the dark night of the soul, just like you had to go through the dark night of the soul. So embrace your shadow work as well as embrace the attention that you get when you're in public, or when you look like you're that dude, or you look like you're that girl. What's interesting is that actually the tree metaphor is actually overrated also. What am I talking about? Most people don't notice trees until they're down in life. You like you could be walking through your neighborhood, you're like, wow, this is a beautiful tree, and you look up and it's like 30 feet in the air. When you look at a tree that's 30 or 40 feet in the air, that tree could be like 200 or 300 years old. And here you are grew up in a neighborhood and you ain't never seen that tree, yet it's there. So even those in the light sometimes get ignored also. So you got to embrace the work that you do in the shadows, as well as embrace sometimes not being popular or seen, even though you're hidden, or what they call hidden in plain sight. It goes on and said the crocodile makes no noise. We just interested when talking about the villain. So the crocodile is Sebek. People are scared of crocodiles. It seems to be this predator underwater, but it's making a metaphor out of it. The crocodile makes no noise. However, one fears it for a long time because it moves quietly. Remember, a lot of power is in your silence. It's not about always being out in front and telling everybody every little thing. However, one fears it for a long time. Quiet strength is like the river swelling. We're talking shadow work again. Quiet strength is like the river swelling. In time, they will overflow their banks, moving the unmovable. So that reminds me of that saying, when somebody shows you themselves, believe them. I hate that saying because it's very short-sighted. When people shows you who they are, believe them. And usually when that happens, it's usually when somebody shows a poor character trait and whatever. And they're like, see, that's who they are. It's almost like you could be on your health kick trying to do the right thing, and for whatever reason you break and you have a cookie. And they be like, look at him, he's just a cookie monster. I knew he wasn't really healthy. I knew she wasn't really healthy. I knew she wasn't really on the vegan thing. She's just a cookie monster. Once again, with that scenario, with that metaphor, you never know what a person is going through at a time to express themselves. So that's why I don't like that thing of when a person shows you who they are, believe them, because like I said, it's usually a judgment on how they handle a particular circumstance. So it's saying the quiet strength is like the river swelling. In time, they will overflow their banks, moving the unmovable. So there's certain things in your character people might think that you can't change. But when you do your shadow work, like I said, the rivers swell up and it moves the unmovable. You be like, damn, I didn't know that treasure was under there all that time. Oh, so the water's washed up this thing. Oh, that was there after all these time. Oh, that's a precious jewel. That's a precious mineral. Maybe we need to go back. We need to dive deeper. And it says that. And their banks move the unmovable. In time they will recede, lying in wait for the next inundation. And that's talking about cycles of growth. So just because you did shadow work this year, don't mean you ain't gonna have to do it several years from now. Because every level is gonna come new challenges. Every level you're gonna be directed back to yourself on, do you really know yourself and do you really love yourself? And when you know and love yourself and put that as the primary thought or frame of mind, fear, doubt, and all of that other stuff dissipates. And I'll conclude it there. Part one.
Do I not for part one? That's it. I think y'all was feeling this one.
Well, how do you determine that?
The likes, the comments.
Okay.
Yeah. Do I not? I guess they could tell us in the chat if they was feeling it. How about that? Y'all could tell us.
That's
Yeah, you see that. To our Facebook. We appreciate the reciprocity that you send to us. If you all enjoyed this message today and you got something out of it, you felt like it was fulfilling, motivating, inspiring, or charging, energizing to you, please send reciprocity in the form of donations. Your donations can be sent by Cash App to $Temple of Anu, or by PayPal to templeofanew@gmail.com. Dua again to Wepet Makra for posting the donation links in the chat, as well as posting the link to a new Renaissance in the chat. Dua for y'all continued support and continued presence with us here as we host our communions by live stream. We are enjoying the opportunity to continue to collab with y'all like this. And we will not be here. Reminder again, we will not be here with you all on Sunday, August 20th, but we will see you again on Facebook and YouTube Live at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Sunday, September 3rd. That is the next time we'll be back in this forum for Communion. So we look forward to seeing y'all then.
And look out for the new single called The Outskirts. In about an hour, we'll be posting up the link for that on Bandcamp.
Do on that to everybody.
Go back and get Unworldly if you didn't get it. For those who like the boom bap hip hop experience, conscious, life infused wisdom hip hop. Check it out.
Do on that, sir. Do on that, sir.
All right.
All right. Show me what's up, everybody.
Show me what's up.